Museum of Drag Racing.
Oh, what do you got going on here?
I don't know.
A farmer's market?
So you just witnessed firsthand why Sue did not go to this museum with me, because she was in the coffee shop and farmer market mood. So she in fact sat outside this museum all day while I was at it and edited a different video. What we actually had just driven by there was a swap meet for radio control cars. But more importantly, this is when I first got the idea that why the heck isn't this place a harvest host facility or location for members to stay at? And the obvious answer is they probably don't know about it. So I went in and talked to the folks inside, and one thing led to the other, and in the end of this video you'll see that this location has been added now for a stop for Harvest Host members. To be able to stay overnight and experience such a wonderful museum like this for the charges that you see on screen effective May 31st, 2022 is just an awesome bargain. I have to say I was extremely impressed on how this museum was organized, because although it's basically a tribute to the contributions that Don Garlits made to not only put drag racing on the map and show all of his innovations through all the years, but interspersed through it is all of his competitors and some of the things that they contributed. The museum is really organized because Don was smart enough right from the beginning to name his cars by numbers sequentially. And this is Swamp Rat 1, was built in 1956. Sometimes there were actually multiple versions of a individual numbered car, but that's another subject for another video. As you progress through the museum, it turns out that Swamp Rat 13 was one of the pivotal cars in Don Garlits' career. He had a very bad accident in this that you or I would never get back into a dragster again if it happened to us. And it was this car where he decided that he was going to draw the line and no longer sit in back of the engine, and he was going to start producing cars where he was sitting in front of the engine, which he and others, I believe, viewed as a safer setup. You can see here, this is moments before he was pretty badly injured on his foot. Now, here is the next car he built after he recovered. This is Swamp Rat 14, and he went on to set a lot of records with that. Puts himself in front of the engine. Here's an interesting concept on Swamp Rat 27. The engine is put in sideways so that the torque reaction from the engine actually pushes the wheels down for better traction. There must have been other trade-offs that made this not the way to go, because you don't see this often at all. So back in the day, hitting the 200-mile-an-hour mark was a goal for many racers, and apparently there's many ways to do it. You can see this turbine car that Don built, and he ended up doing it. And then they go and try different engine styles, and then Don built this flathead engine here and ended up going 200 miles an hour. And along the way, it was just one technology and one technique and one world record that he was going after one by one to keep himself busy. Throughout the museum, mixed in with Don's cars, are many of the competitors that he was actually racing against. And there was actually women that were in racing. I remember the name Shirley Cha-Cha Meldowney. And certainly right now in current drag racing, the John Force team and some of his daughters are actually in there, and they're really champions and competitors. Walking into this room was just a mind blower. Literally the first engine you look at here on the corner, I think is like 8,000 horsepower, and you just can't imagine a vehicle hooked up to something like that and you're sailing down the pike. I loved looking at these and seeing the different ways things were done, the evolution of engine design and engine engineering. And as you would see a new idea, maybe that was the best idea, you would start to see it reoccurring on engine after engine. One of the things you're going to see here is eventually they got smart enough to put some Kevlar type straps on the blowers so that if that thing decided to blow and take off like a rocket, at least they could contain it and keep it where the engine was rather than sending it into the skies for an unknown landing. Any of us that worked on cars back in the day can remember how difficult it was to get the carburetor adjusted and to act how you wanted it to act and to deliver the fuel and air mixture consistently to all of the pistons. This was an amazing display of the historic way for these naturally aspirated engines when they were trying to do the best that they could before they gave up and started injecting and blowing the engines, in which case all of this became obsolete. Now, by putting the blowers on, they were able to pressurize these engines and make horsepower like you couldn't believe. But to get it in the beginning, the way they had to get it was they had to actually put two engines on these dragsters. Now you can imagine all of the issues involved in trying to get these two engines to work together and not be squirrely. And for the most part, I think they're more of a showmanship type of thing now. It was kind of cool to see the name TV Tommy Ivo with this particular dragster that's here. I remember when I was younger, he was also one of the people that I would want to be when we were playing with cars. I would either be Don Garlits or TV Tommy Ivo. Make sure to budget time to get to the back building of the museum because that's where some of the last and most recent versions of the dragsters that Don drove and invented. But wouldn't you know it, he's not done yet. Even though Don turned 90 on January 14th of 2022, he in fact is in the process of building an all-electric dragster, and it's called Swamp Rat number 38. Check out his website to see the progress on that as things unfold. Included in your admission to the Garlits Museum is entry to the Antique Car Museum. And just in case you didn't get your fill of the evolution of the engine in all of the cars, this should whet your palate. This new Harvest Host location in Florida is only 120 miles south of the border. To be able to stay here free overnight for the price of an ultra interesting museum that you should go to in the first place is the bargain of the century. Now, what I'm going to show you here is the surrounding area that shows how relaxing it's going to be at night because there's basically nothing by you on one side, but you do have the busy I-75 freeway on the other side. I can say personally, Sue and I, we don't even hear road noise anymore. That's just part of the freight on being a full-time RVer. There aren't a lot of harvest hosts that advertise that they can take 5 RVs, much less have 5 RV pull-through spots for the big motorhomes towing. So if you're already a Harvest Host member and you type in Ocala and Florida, you will see that there'll be a little icon and it'll pop up and you can click on it and learn about the Don Garlits Museum, where the hours are. They can take 45-foot rigs and they have 5 spaces. But if you're still thinking about if you want to be a Harvest Host member, I say just cut to the chase and go to our RV Harvest Host playlist and look at all the different places we stayed at and how our experiences turned out.
Another way you can get to the Harvest Host is through our website. Just go to ourjourneyinmiles.com, and then under the blog tab, you're going to see one of the categories is Harvest Hosts. Once you get to that page, you can read all about it and our experiences with that. And keep scrolling down. You'll find a link that will actually take you to the site where you can sign up as a Harvest Host member. And you'll see on the top, your friend gave you a 15% off. Use code HHFriends15 at the checkout. And also notice up here, make sure it says Our Journey in Miles. We really appreciate your support. So once you get to that page, just scroll on down and you're going to find Join Harvest Host today.
So from Sue and I, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.